Well, Rover had always had a tremendous reputation for quality, and the Rover Tradition certainly was quality. When I was a small boy growing up, we had a Rover 14, which is a very upright car, but I mean that beautifully made. It was pretty old by the time I came along, but it, I mean, obviously in those days the whole thing was all leather, beautiful wood cappings. I mean, none of that walnut veneer stuff. I mean, this is all quarter-inch thick stuff everywhere. It was a very smart-looking sedan car, very upright, and they made the Rover 12 and 14 sort of coupe, which is a slightly more sporting-looking model, same basic underpinnings, but a slightly different model. And these were all pre-war, and during the war they'd become obviously involved, like so many factories did in England, in making armaments and either tanks or armoured vehicles, guns, whatever. And Rover, of course, was into there as well.
If you would see the very heart of England, the green and pleasant land whose fertile acres have inspired poets and bred men of action, go to the Midlands. Here is Shakespeare's England, and there are parts of it that have seen little change since his time. For these Midland people, while moving with the times, have kept the Shakespearean tradition very much alive. Another tradition has lived on and flourished, one that was already old when Shakespeare was a boy. The tradition of craftsmanship, of doing a job well and taking a pride in it. Some of the older crafts are dying out, but for everyone that passes into disuse, 100 new skills are born. The tools and methods change, the vital spirit lives on, increases and builds new empires of technical achievement, rising up out of the green fields. One is here at Solihull, between industrial Birmingham and the green pastures of Warwickshire. Its subjects are the craftsmen who make Rover cars. To trace the Rover story back to its beginning, we must go to Coventry. 80 years ago or more, James Starley was making improvements on the bicycle, the terrifying penny farthing. The safety bicycle, perfected by his nephew J.K. Starley, who took over the business in 1881, quickly replaced the old-style machine. The comfortable, improved bicycle opened up such a vista of travel that it was suitably named the Rover. With the sport made safe even for the fair sex, the bicycle became a symbol of dashing emancipation. Those were the days when life was really speeding up. The enormous popularity of the bicycle was merely to set the scene for another innovation, the motor car. In 1904, the Rover Company produced its first cars. They were greeted with enthusiasm. A journalist wrote of a sweetly running car free from harassing peculiarities. People of fashion and the world of style found its lines had a graciousness that fitted in well with the tenor of life. Meanwhile, the pace of motors was speeding up to alarming proportions.
Monday night, NASCAR TV is on speed. One tough series.
Oh, and he hit very hard.
Deserves one rockin' party.
There is no better product in racing than the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Banquet, Monday night, 10 Eastern, only on Speed.
Big, bad, real trucks. Hello, Max. Introducing the 345 horsepower Silverado Vortec Max. Max as in more. More towing capacity than any half-ton truck.
Now more than ever, the world needs love.
Get a Silverado extended cab four-wheel drive with the available Vortec Max Performance Package for a red tag price starting under $28,500 after cash back. See your local Chevy dealer.
Now more than ever.
You may already own a lifetime supply of drill bits. Work smart, work sharp. Turn to Drill Doctor, the drill bit sharpener.
Build them from behind the arc. And it's good. Dunk it down low. Unbelievable. Kobe Bryant with the slam. Watch out below Shaq with a little gift for the Lakers.
The NBA on ABC Christmas doubleheader. It's Spurs Pistons followed by the Lakers Heat. The action begins at noon Eastern, Christmas Day on ABC.
A robot can make a car. But this is how you can make it roar. A chip can control the engine. But this is how you can set it free. A manual says what a car might do. Now discover what it wants to do. Give it the edge. Give it Syntec. No leading oil provides more horsepower. For maximum power, great cars want more than just oil. Give them liquid engineering.
From bedhead to motorhead, you're watching the Castrol Engine Block on Speed.
In the 1930s, life suddenly began to be very real, very earnest, and very competitive. The rapidly diminishing number of manufacturing firms in this country vied with each other in cutting prices. The nation's leaders called for economy. The Rover Company took a bold step. Considering that high quality was the soundest economy, it withdrew from the cutthroat race and decided to concentrate on a car designed and built to the most exacting standards. In the 9 years that followed, competition eliminated all but a small number of motor manufacturers. The Rover policy was justified. The results of this continuing policy are apparent today, when Rover cars of the 1930s, nursed by their owners with all the loving care that such a car commands, are still in heavy demand. The war came, and with it a new word, to concentrate. The Rover Company's Coventry works, marked as a top priority on the Luftwaffe's operational maps, were not spared. Only one thing was not destroyed in that night of baptism by fire, the will to win. The Rover Company made a fighting comeback. In a shadow factory at Solihull and elsewhere, it started making Meteor engines for the Cromwell tank. Hercules and Lysander aircraft were also to be a part of the company's contribution to the war effort. The jet aircraft engine was to provide another outlet for the company's engineering skill and experience. Converting a brilliant dream into a piece of practical engineering called for new materials, new methods, new techniques. A few years after the war, the Rover Company produced the Land Rover, most versatile wheeled vehicle ever made. This complete departure from routine car manufacture surprised the world. Meanwhile, one of the first British cars with a post-war look was the 1950 Rover, additional proof that the company was marching with, or even ahead of, the times. And looking ahead of the times was another project at Solihull, the gas turbine engine that one day is going to revolutionize internal combustion. With Jet 1, the original model, now in the Science Museum, research is forging ahead. And this base unit is used for development, a mobile test bed. A new conception and a new form of motoring are seen in T3, the gas turbine prototype car. Only a beginning, it is already accepted as the pattern for motoring in the years ahead. But behind this experiment was a flow of normal Rover cars. In the post-war years, to own a Rover became more and more a desirable objective, and production increased with demand. Once a driver had owned a Rover, it raised his appreciation of what pleasure and satisfaction such a good car could give.
Friday, celebrate New Year's Eve early with the Lost Drive-In Marathon on Speed. And this party's got plenty of cars, stars...
Come on, hotshot, you're guessing now.
And of course, fireworks. From the original Gone in 60 Seconds to Stroke a Race.
A man's got to do what he's got to do.
It's the only New Year's Eve party with horsepower. The Lost Drive-In New Year's Eve Marathon begins Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Speed.
Action! Susu, if I take this left, will that get us to the restaurant? Oh, Susu, I missed that. I missed a turn. We need a new route. Susu, can I take this right? Susu, I think this looks familiar. Should I be turning here? We're totally lost, aren't we? Susu, we're lost.
If you miss a turn, remember, the easiest way to get a new route is TomTom, not Susu. Just tap on the screen, and a helpful voice guides you wherever you want to go. TomTom is your portable, everyday GPS solution.
If you are seriously injured in an accident, there may be a hidden cause to your injuries besides the initial collision.
The National Safety Hotline offers 24-hour help to victims of car, truck, van, and SUV manufacturing safety defects, including gas tank explosions, roof crush, tire failure, and seatbelt and airbag failures.
I'm attorney Bob Goldwater. If you were in any accident in the last 2 years involving wrongful death, paralysis, brain damage, amputation, or severe burns, call me right now.
Even if you were at fault for the accident or already received an insurance settlement, you still may be entitled to a large cash award.
If you or a loved one was seriously injured or killed in the last 2 years in any car, truck, van, or SUV accident, call the law firm of Robert Goldwater for a free case review to find out if you are entitled to compensation from the auto manufacturer. Call 1-800-317-5656. That's 1-800-317-5656.
Well, about a decade or so ago, BMW bought Rover and some of the accoutrements of Rover, and then found it to be a tremendous drain on their resources, and basically sort of gave it away. And the British consortium of business people now own Rover, and they're trying to resuscitate it. And so far, they're having quite a bit of success. I mean, they are turning out Rovers, they're making Rovers, but it's going to be a tremendous uphill battle to ultimately stave off the Fords, the Vauxhalls, and the BMWs of this world, especially if you want to make a high-quality car. You're up against some serious people like BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, very high-quality vehicles and high volume.
The world appreciates progress and new conception. And now, with all that had been learned in 60 years, the Rover company began developing a new car to meet the needs of wider markets. The 3-litre, bigger, longer, lower than other Rover cars, more roomy and more powerful. Conception of the 3-litre began with the directors briefing the stylist, who then translated a multitude of guiding principles into hundreds of working drawings. With his experienced team of artists, modelers, engineers, he worked on every detail of the car, looked at it from every angle, and examined every possible advantage. After months of this process, with fundamental changes and seemingly trivial alterations to detail, a basic line was decided upon. The first tangible stage was to make a quarter-scale model in clay, and at last an idea emerged of how the car would look. A gracious design with a continental verve, with an appeal to all the world's markets. A wooden mock-up, complete in essential details, was an early stage of the interior design. This wooden lay figure, weighted at various points to reproduce the exact distribution of a human's weight, was number 1 passenger. An elegant car must appeal to elegant drivers, and the woman's angle was studied when designing the interior. It is no good building beautiful seats that will ladder nylons or doors in which a skirt might catch, so the feminine approach was covered thoroughly. The fascia panel again was first and foremost practical, but also had to look distinctive. Color was all important from the word go. One method of studying the effect of light on different planes was to spray paper with lacquer and try it against the contours of the full-scale car model. The Rover Company has always preferred colors of restraint, and this preference was to be followed in the new car. At the same time, in the engineering drawing office, every board was taken up with some detail of the priorities assigned to the engineering department. The design of the new engine, transmission, suspension, and construction. In the experimental department, prototype engines were made, tested, modified, remade. The 3-liter engine was a development of the famous 90 engine. It had improved low-speed torque and pulling power. One of its outstanding features was the new 7-bearing crankshaft. Another was the single carburetor, which has advantages over the twin system in many parts of the world where servicing opportunities may be infrequent. The Rover designed roller tappets operating on a 6-bearing camshaft showed a distinct departure from the old type engine. At last, a prototype emerged from the shop. It was a complete prototype of the finished car and was to undergo 2 years of intensive punishment on the road so that any defects could be eliminated from the start. This car and one of its replicas went through many months of testing at the Motor Industry Research Association's test track, and a car that can stand up to thousands of miles of this and the other tests carried out by Rovers is fit for anything. If it is not shaken to breaking point on the pavé, fast periods on the switchback humps may still find a weakness. And the gradients of 1 in 4 and 1 in 3 are as steep as anything encountered on the roads of the world. At this stage, and at all stages in the manufacture of any Rover car, the Quality Control Department has complete authority over all others in maintaining quality standards. The road prototypes are off the road meanwhile, and electronic equipment records the way they are standing up to strains far greater than any the car will ever be required to meet on the road.
One novice bike builder. Here's the deal. In the ultimate challenge.
You do a great job, it's your bike.
Build a custom iron horse in 30 days. Build or bust.
I shouldn't have to explain this.
Wednesday night at 10 Eastern on Speed.
Just a reminder, not all of our national treasures are found in a museum. Easy drinking Busch Light. Busch. Head for the mountains of Busch.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SUV Championships.
Anybody can ride an SUV. Not everybody rides it right.
Pushing it too hard.
Without respect for what they're capable of, it's easy to see why a lot of riders take the role. SUVs are big and powerful, and on top of one, you can feel almost invincible.
Easy now, big dog.
Keeping your SUV in off course.
Look at that control.
That's the idea, right? Ooh.
Every wheel is measured by this specially designed machine. The graph recording its shape is filed away so that if any part of a Rover gearbox failed, its life history could be checked. Then the gears are paired, mated for the rest of their lives. They are run together, and skilled craftsmen listen for the slightest sound of disharmony. If the noise is wrong, the match is imperfect, and the wheels are changed. Elaborate equipment, also designed and made in the works, since nothing like it can be bought elsewhere, is used to test the finished gearboxes. One of the most vital parts of an engine is the piston. And for this reason, the Rover Company makes its own to Rover standards of precision. Within a tolerance of 1/10,000th of an inch, there are 5 sizes of piston, ensuring a perfection of matching unique in the motor industry. When it comes to engine assembly, it is easy to see how Rover cars have achieved their fame for reliability. The engines are precision-built by men who go to great lengths and take exceptional trouble rather than run the slightest risk of imperfection. Every complete 6-cylinder engine is balanced, another Rover feature that is unique. This delicate piece of apparatus had to be specially designed for the purpose, as no equipment of such high standards could be obtained outside. As an additional test of performance, every engine is given a running test lasting 5 hours non-stop before it can be approved as fit to go into a car. Final adjustments are made and the engine is smooth and sweet. In the new paint shop, built to coincide with the production of the new 3-litre car, bodies are proofed against corrosion with a variety of processes before finally being sprayed. Then they are stoved, and only the ones that achieve complete perfection go on to the assembly shop without reworking. Finally, the component parts are brought together at Solihull, and on the car assembly line, the new shape of the 3-litre can be seen. Its precision-tooled and elaborately tested parts are assembled at last. Take 3 whole cowhides of the finest quality, tan them to the softness of a kid glove, dye them with pleasing shades of color. Throw away all but the finest pieces, and you have the upholstery for one Rover car. Visitors to the works are often astonished by the number of operations carried out by hand. One reason for doing so is that hand polishers could detect and remedy the tiniest flaw in the paintwork.
You've seen the auction. Now, see it from the inside.
I really have no idea.
Go behind the scenes of the world's greatest classic car auction. Barrett Jackson.
Let's head to the block.
Don't bid against him.
The chaos.
Kale? I'm trying to get my other car in before it gets here.
The bidding wars. And the timeless dream cars they all come for.
I'm buying your car.
Barrett Jackson, Life on the Block. Monday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, on Speed.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The Saab 9-3 Sport Sedan with an available 250 horsepower turbocharged V6. When you used to build jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Life doesn't stand still, and neither do we. That's why you trust Lowe's for appliances. Not because we have the largest selection in stock, or because Lowe's has this innovative Whirlpool fast fill refrigerator, which, like all our appliances over $397, will deliver free, even haul away the old one free. And when you use your Lowe's card, pay nothing for 6 months. So nobody works harder to save you money every day, which Lowe's promises to do. At Lowe's, improving home improvement never ends.
A robot can make a car. But this is how you can make it roar. A chip can control the engine. But this is how you can set it free. A manual says what a car might do. Now discover what it wants to do. Give it the edge. Give it Syntec. No leading oil provides more horsepower. For maximum power, great cars want more than just oil. Give them liquid engineering.
Now comes the time for the first of the new cars to be tested. Every part of it has been tested along the line, and a final visual check of every part was made before it passed these doors. But like every Rover car, it is going to be driven under expert observation for 20 miles or more on the private factory test track. From the moment he picks it up, the tester has his eyes and ears open. Part of the track is covered with artificial bumps. If there were a squeak or rattle, this section would show it up. The sharp bends on the track are a good test of smooth gear change, although the car can and will take the whole circuit comfortably in top. All the controls, including every switch, are checked over, from lights to screen spray and wipers. After more mileage on the track comes the brake test, to make sure the car will stop dead straight at varying pedal pressure. This car will soon leave the works and go out into the world. The test driver's report will be filed away for many years to come, part of the pedigree certificate of a thoroughbred. For every Rover product is a thoroughbred in the true sense of the word. The outcome of the consistently high standards of a long lineage and the detailed care of today's grooming.
The film that we're seeing was shot in 1958 by the Rover film unit, and like all manufacturers, they had a film unit, and they went everywhere, and there's some pretty interesting footage in here. There's some old racing footage. We're not quite sure about the truthfulness of that. And there's some great footage of the streets of London being choked by horse-drawn traffic, so that just shows that the more things change, the more they stay the same, because they're still choked by non-horse-drawn traffic. Did it sell more cars? Films like this were usually aimed more at the dealer body than at the actual consumer, because in those days, I mean, there was no TV, not widespread TV. So to see a movie like this, you'd have had to go to the movies, to the movie house. And this might have been like a section of this might have been a sort of a short between the feature and, say, the news. Otherwise, a film like this wouldn't have got a great deal of exposure, I can't imagine, other than to suppliers and the industry itself, and possibly to dealers.